Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this topical panel discussion on Embrace a Secure and Scalable Public Cloud. The growth and maturation of the cloud marketplace has not only proven the viability of commercial cloud offerings, but also represents a fundamental shift in technology management philosophy. With traditional practices garnering limited return on investment and providing limited business agility, organizations are moving away from the do it yourself mentality and are using technology services from cloud service providers who can do things better, faster, and often cheaper. However, business and IT leaders have some fundamental questions. How can we better understand the risks and opportunities that cloud computing presents? How do we take advantages of these opportunities and not fall behind and not make costly mistakes? How do we survive and thrive in the cloud? Well, in this session, top technology leaders will address all these questions and more. So please join me in welcoming our panelists of the day in alphabetical order. Mr. Girish Sharma, Head of Product Management Cloud Services at NTT. Mr. Jagat Pal Singh, COO, Sybase Software Private Limited. Ms. Mallika Galagali, Cloud and Managed Service Provider, Sales Head, India, VMware. Mr. Manjunath S. Prasad, Head IT Operations, TVS and Sons. Mr. Pradeep Kumar Arunbhai Thakur, Country Head and VP Engineering, Marvel India Private Limited. Mr. Srinivas Bandi, VP IT, Kelton Tech Solutions Limited. Mr. Sumit Malhotra, CIO Times Internet Limited. Mr. Tejveer Bhogal, Head Governance, Alliances and PMO, Bennett Coleman and Company Limited. Mr. Vijay Banda, Director of Cybersecurity, Qualcomm. And Mr. Vineet Tyagi, CTO, Biz2 Credit Info Services Private Limited. Welcome, gentlemen. Great. So let me set the ball rolling with Mr. Jagat Pal. Mr. Jagat, depending on the nature of the business of specific organizations, cloud can have different implications. What do you want to achieve with cloud, and where are you in meeting your objectives, business or technology, either of those? Your thoughts here, sir.
So we are of course in the business of providing services. When you look at as our company, our own business, right? Now for us, our employees now naturally they have a tool set which they use to build products, and they have their employee self services products which they use internally for things like doing applying for leave or project management and etc. Now, not even, before even pandemic, when you look at, for us, the cloud basically means that can we provide all these products which they need to support either customers or support themselves wherever they are. Earlier, we used to do with part of virtualization, but as things started moving and people started working from home, even before pandemic, the work from home is something which was there. Of course, it was not there for 100% time, but it was always there. That means we had to always provide these applications which they needed, or these products which they needed to build something wherever they are. And that basically led us to start our journey towards that. And we started mid of last decade, frankly, or now, of course, last to last decade, 2006-7, when the cloud came. So we started our journey in 2009-10, and initially we virtualized some of our environment so that we can utilize the space effectively. So mostly it was started with utilization of a real estate, because if you are in a 24/7 support, then you can utilize the same infra. And we started our journey from there. And then today, now after pandemic, of course, things have become much faster. Now anything which we are looking at, that can we always have some people who are going to work from home, and we already have certain people who are going to work from home permanently. I'm sure most of the companies are looking at that, and we have already moved on where some of people now who are joining us are saying that we would want to work permanently from home. And that means it's a little more accelerated. Some more applications have to become where they can access. So for us, it is a must. And I'm sure for everyone, it is probably a must, but how much you take, what applications, and to make sure that ROI is there and you are gaining, as and when you are converting, you move towards the better and better future in terms of connectivity and ROI, and in terms of availability of all this to your workforce. We are in an accelerated path today when you look at it as an organization.
Sure, Mr. Jagat. Let me come to Mr. Manjunath now. Manjunath, sir, competition, disruption, transformation, they are cumulatively compelling companies to continuously improve their operations to drive agility, savings, efficiency, enhance customer experience. Are you looking at any or all of these for your enterprise by leveraging cloud?
See, we being TVS, we were purely a brick and mortar kind of organization handling the hands and leg support. Now, with this pandemic being forcing us to look at into more digital aspects of reaching out to our customers, what we are forced to think the digital adoption has increased 10 times faster than we expected. So we had started with the baby steps, but that has been aggravated now, and because we still have to continue servicing our customers. So what has happened in our industry is the pace of digital adoption has increased drastically, and we have completed our cloud infrastructure complete migration. Now we do not have any in-house data center concept at all, because the kind of speed what we want to roll out the applications, roll out the performance sizing that we need to do, so we can roll out faster services to the market. So we had to adapt. Cloud was the only option for us to look at it to meet the business requirement, dynamic business requirements. That is one. The second advantage, what we could now, with that first phase of cloud infrastructure migration completed, now we are looking at the second phase of looking at the SaaS services, kind of a PaaS services, moving on to the next level of cloud adoption, where we can look at the data analytics and the service tools and all of how we can make that utilized more to get a meaningful data to make better customer decisions or better business decisions. So that's the phase which we are into looking at. That's our phase of journey where we are right now. We are in the second phase of cloud journey, where we can look at enhancing more tools and services to make better judgments for the organization.
Sure, sure. Wonderful. So you are on your second leg of cloud. Wonderful. Let me come to Mr. Pradeep Kumar now. Sir, your company lends the power of digital to other enterprises. How would adopting cloud help you in digitally transforming your customers' business?
Absolutely. So let me just give just a quick historical context to this. In 1946, when ENIAC was invented, somebody said that now computers will do all the crunch work and humans will be at the beaches. Now that was the half truth, right? 70 years later, now we are hitting another point of inflection, where now with the cloud computing allowing the data on the go, humans will be really at the beaches and computers will be doing all the crunch work, right? So it took 70 years to fulfill that vision. And but the last few years have been really an accelerated growth. The company that I represent here, we are Marvel Technology. We are primarily in the space of making semiconductor components that go into the space of data computing, data security, data storage, and data connectivity. So we really, as market leaders, have a significant vested interest, as well as a significant innovation that we are investing in to support the deployment of the secure, scalable mobile cloud solutions. And we support all three modalities that exist today and all three protocols that exist today through our solutions. As a company, if I look at semiconductor industry, and semiconductor industry has been around since 1968. But if I look at it over the point, the industry went through two revolutions, or rather two key points of inflection. The first point of inflection that it hit, so semiconductor industry historically was more of a cluster-based execution. You have various sites, and the sites pretty much own what they do and execute. But the arrival of the internet was a major point of inflection, where the cross-geography real-time collaboration became a reality. And the second point of inflection is caused by the pandemic, where we are in the middle of it, right? And there is a whole emergence of a new culture of a flexible workplace, which really demands, the access from anywhere and access from any device. And where we are at currently is in a significant innovation crunch. And as they say, right, necessity is mother of all invention. There is so much innovation going on in this particular space for last 18 months that really, outpaces what has happened in the previous decade. All companies, whether software, hardware, services, e-commerce, retail, many organizations are now in this mode to really, have the talent competition for the millennial workforce. which really demands greater flexibility. And we are also at the cusp of artificial intelligence that is going to really take the cloud computing to the next level. And where we are poised as an organization, where we want to be the enabler, but we also want to be the beneficiary. So if I just give one example, in March 2020, when as a company, when we received an order to say 100% work from home, it just took us 24 hours to ensure that we had business continuity within 24 hours of the notification to get 100% work from home. And we have been in that mode since then. When we are coming out, only time will tell, right? But what's going to happen, I think, in next 5 years, or what the new workplace will look like by 2030, it is really going to hinge upon the cloud computing, and many organizations that are represented here, we are all going to be the makers of the future. And what their vision is, I don't think any of us can today tell what the workplace will look like 10 years down the road, but we all can agree that it will be entirely different, and it would be based on flexible work modalities and significantly on the cloud computing backbone, with the security, with the processing, right, and connectivity from anywhere, right?
Sure.
So that's where we are poised as end user. That's where we are poised. When we look at the roadmap ahead, that's our technology roadmap.
Right.
Right. So
sure. Great, sir. Like you said, the future of business and technology hinges on cloud computing, definitely. Coming to Girish now. Girish, you've heard all the top technology leaders talk about how the adoption of cloud has accelerated during the last 1.5 years because of the pandemic. What do you hear from other technology leaders in your interactions with them? How do you see them adopting cloud, and for meeting which objectives, and where are they in their journey to cloud?
Thanks, Yashwendra, for bringing me in. Quite an interesting discussion here. So I think, earlier I used to hear that digital transformation, people are going to go through, and cloud people like us, we were advocating digital transformation here and there. In last 1.5 years, I've been hearing people that the pandemic has pushed a digital transformation onto them, right? We heard Mr. Pradeep just say that within 24 hours, everybody was working from home. Many such organizations we came across, just as soon as the pandemic hit, we were all forced to respond in altogether a different way. Some people actually has put that it was a 10 times the digital pace that they had to run with. So totally agreeing to that. The very idea of cloud technologies, and people like us who are working along with platform leaders like VMware, the idea is how are we going to help businesses get through these digital disruptions in a very, very affirmative way. How cloud technology has shaped now, if I give you an idea that if businesses are going to be dynamic, so is your cloud, right? Right from a bare metal workload to a workload in a container, managed services players like us, along with the platform leaders, are ready to deliver for the businesses, right? When I talk about any disruption, I really mean it, because we have been talking and advocating about a simple disaster recovery for years altogether, but pandemic has just pushed people to take care of your digital agility, that you are always agile. It might be a simple power failure, it might be a connectivity disruption. We heard about connectivity from Mr. Pradeep very aptly. It might be any kind of discontinuity which is pushing you out of business, is not tolerated, right? So that's what we as cloud player are hearing from people, that now they are embracing digital disruption in a altogether a different way. We always had these capabilities with enterprise platforms that we are catering all our cloud services from. We actually wrapped it in such a way that all these points, it might be connectivity, it might be processing, it might be a different site, or it might be you want to take your business to a new level, right? It might be movement from a simple virtual machine to a container-based, DevOps-based environment you want to move to. So the idea behind cloud players and the managed cloud services player are now is that they want to help businesses achieve what they want to in a given dynamic environment. So we are all here for supporting the business of our people, and that's what cloud technologies are running along with businesses. And I should tell you that the platforms which are now there, they are put forth many capabilities as by default, right? If I talk to people now, security, they really say that there is a definite level of security which has to be there, and it is a given consideration, and they go for advanced level of security discussions with us. So really, as the environment around us is changing, it's interesting to see that people are leveraging all the platform capabilities to maximum. Our all the conversations with the IT fraternities have become quite interesting. You know that, when we are all in IT fraternity, there's so many people with the engineering bent, so when you are challenged to solve a problem, everybody is excited. And now is the time when everybody is challenged and we are able to help so many problems, able to help them solve so many problems. It's quite an interesting area for platform people as well as the cloud service providers like us.
Great to see you mitigating the impact of the pandemic on most enterprises, Girish. Great. I'll come to Mr. Sumit Malhotra now. Sumit sir, depending on the business objective, organization may decide to go with one or multiple cloud deployment models. There are public, private, or hybrid. And there are cloud service models as well, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. So how can organizations choose the best fit for their businesses? I mean, there are so many models there. How does a CIO or a CISO or a technology leader decide which model suits his business, his organization the best?
There are a lot of factors to consider, that's what I would say. And these factors continue to evolve, continue to change over a period of time. Like, for example, one of the very common factor in deciding which cloud to choose is regulatory compliance, especially for companies in BFSI. So they have to keep core banking operations. They have to local, and they have to actually adopt and stick to localization of data as mandated by the government of India. So there are many features like this. Like, for example, depends on the scale of operations. So if my scale of operations is really large or really small, the scale of operations being large means that I probably will be ending up spending a lot more money on my cloud operations, and there's a possibility that I can optimize it by running it myself. Okay. Now, the possibility of whether I will be able to do it or not depends on many of the factors, like whether I have the skills to run an on-prem cloud or not, whether I have partners like NTT and solution provider like VMware to support me in building those platforms and managing those platforms and delivering services to our customers effectively. So it's actually a continuously evolving system, and there are a lot many features in play. Few more to mention. It also depends on the life cycle of the products. So I think in the beginning, one of the panelists mentioned that it's about cloud computing is to make sure that people can deliver and be agile. The pay-per-use model is very interesting. I think one of the biggest thing which it has done is it has democratized the access of cloud technologies to startups. So earlier people used to have to invest in large amount of capex in achieving what they can do by just swiping the card. So it not just enables people to do astronomical things, it also enables people to do so many things so that there is a possibility of succeeding in one becomes really high. So, like for example, if I have to run 20 projects, I will have to invest in 20 different capex in parallel. But in cloud, I can do, like, you have it terms called fast fail. I think that's what the true value of cloud is. But again, the clouds like on-prem has their own advantages. One of them being cost efficiency, which I've seen people, if they leverage it really good and they have great partners, they will be able to save about 60 to 70% of what they currently would be spending to public cloud, which is like a monumental difference, especially for a company who's relies and actually has a millions of dollars spent in cloud. So it depends on a lot of feed factors, and I think it's important for us to monitor those factors and see what makes sense at that point in time, whether maybe an application A is the right fit right now for cloud, but there's a possibility when it grow and reach to a different life cycle in which it becomes mature, it has stable traffic, it probably become a better candidate for a on-premise team. So it's a continuous evaluation process. One needs to monitor it closely.
Mr. Tejveer, Sumit sir, is a born digital company. Yours is a traditional brick and mortar, media company. So the considerations that he has, adopting a certain cloud model would be different from yours. How do you differentiate? What makes you, choose a particular cloud model, and why?
So Yashwendra, Sumit has mentioned, there are many factors. Looking at BCCL, we have a legacy of about 183 years. When you talk of such a legacy, obviously you are catering to legacy applications, legacy infrastructure, legacy mindset? So I would like to answer in three different aspects. The first and the foremost being the dependency on those legacy applications. Because we are a very niche environment, very niche set of applications, it's very difficult to migrate them from a on-prem to a cloud model. So, and there are many parameters, many factors which not only affect but also impact the output, especially technical limitations such as latency, which is not possible when it comes to a cloud environment. So that's number one. The second is the business imperatives. And as we are seeing the current scenario, the new normal, I think the business imperatives are also changing. And some of that has also made an impact on the consumer facing applications or the consumer facing services. So that's where the cloud model, the public cloud model, comes in very, very handy. And it's one very the speed is very fast. You can actually deliver the service or the application on the word go. So those are some of the other factors which are there. The third, and that is the major part, and that's a major contributor to any such environment, whether it is legacy or the latest one, that's change management. When it comes to the people who are supposed to deliver that service or that application, what is their thought process, whether it is internal or external. For example, if today I want to move my entire performance management system on the cloud vis-a-vis an on-prem model, is my organization, the people, the resources who are actually generating that revenue, are they ready for that? Are they really keen for that? And is the message coming from top down? Whether the shareholders or the management is ready to invest their time and effort to bring about this change. So, in my mindset, I think these are the three areas which one needs to look at.
Sure.
Thank you.
Malika, where do you see the most traction in the market? Is it public, private, hybrid? And what kind of cloud services are being consumed more by enterprises? What do you see in the market?
I think, since you're talking about the enterprise specifically, what we're seeing is a mix. And, one point that I think it was Sumit who mentioned it, that regulatory and compliance related considerations drive a lot of where and how and what you put into the cloud. Now we have, as VMware, we have a large presence in the enterprise. We run a lot of production applications, your core business applications. And when customers start looking at moving into the cloud, now, obviously, when you look at the inflection points of why someone moves into cloud, I mean, pandemic aside, which was a complete game changer, it was typically, let's move a dev test, or, when I need an expansion or a little bit of, I just need to be able to scale up and scale down. And then we would see mixed environment utilization. Somebody is going into a native public cloud with the hyperscalers, or somebody is continuing to extend, with the help of folks like NetMagic here, how you use the platforms, or continue to extend the same platforms that you're using on-prem or in your private cloud. Now, in the past not 2 years, but a year and a half, now with this entire shift, one thing that we're seeing is a lot of digital workspaces are moving into the cloud, obviously. So, they're being able to access any app on any device, anywhere, which is, pretty much our vision and strategy as well as VMware. And how can you build, run, manage everything off of the cloud? So we're seeing a hybrid model come through. Nobody has moved purely into the cloud. Some of it is, fear. Some of it is let somebody else be the first mover there, and let's watch them before we make that move. But also with the hyperscalers coming strongly into the market, and I think earlier it used to be a very different kind of a playing field. Whereas now the messaging of cloud, the visibility and understanding of cloud has become much, much more. So we're seeing customers make these very calculated decisions as to, what I move where, how can I work with everybody and hedge my bets. So we are seeing that mix of utilization come through. There will be, I'm sure, some customers who will prefer to go purely one way or the other, and it could be a commercial decision. or it could be a technology decision. And if you're getting a fantastic pricing from Microsoft or Google, of course, you will go and land on an EDP with the AWS or something of the sort. But when you're working with our partners here now, I run the entire plethora of the cloud partnerships for India, and we've seen this continue to grow very, very steadily. This is like glacier ice moving. It may not be visible when you look at it in terms of big spikes of business, but then suddenly 1 year later, when you look at the numbers, you've had a massive jump. When we've been doubling our growth consistently with that. Of course, I can't state numbers here, but Girish can definitely, I think, attest to the fact that we've seen a fair amount of the enterprise come to us. I think we've had some of our largest SAP wins as well with NetMagic here. So Dr. Srinivas, for your interest. So we're definitely seeing large enterprise workloads move into the cloud. It's not just only the hyperscaler clouds, it is also any VMware cloud that we are seeing come into the picture, and which is also why we're trying to enable more and more such providers.
Right. Great. Let me come to Vineet now. Vineet, you've been there, done that. You are 100% on cloud. One of the reasons that companies move to cloud is to reduce costs, right? For example, by cutting back on servers or eliminating on-premise data centers outright. But a multi-cloud environment can also prove to be costly if not managed effectively. How have you been able to keep costs under control? I'm sure it will be great for the others to hear your experience here.
No, thank you, and great thoughts from everyone. So, to come to your question, Yashwendra, cloud, yes, the premise of the cloud has been that, you can unlock your workloads, take them to the cloud, it's convert OpEx into an OpEx, and it's going to be cheaper. Our experience has been cloud is not, just for the cost control perspective. Cloud doesn't just bring the efficiency in terms of I was paying 100 rupees for running my data center in premise and I'm now paying 90. Now, if that is the motivation to go to the cloud, I think perhaps a lot of people, go with that motivation and then end up in a situation where they say, no, I'm spending 110 now, right? I think for us, our experience has been cloud has been able to give us the opportunity to scale our business without having the concern to invest upfront. The great example would be, last year, when the pandemic started and immediately hit all of us, and there was impact on our business, our lending business in US as well. We were able to control our cost much more effectively, going forward. And then when business started coming back, when we strategically started investing and preparing for a growth spurt, such and such that, we went from in 2020, when we were doing, let's say 30,000 loans digitally on our operational systems, we ended up in a phase in February when we were doing 2x of that number in one day. Right? And that's where the cost efficiency of the cloud played out for us. That we were able to scale up, our infrastructure in a hurry, less than, few minutes, like, we were able to handle traffic as it comes, So that has been our paradigm of looking at the cost control, and the metric that we have been using is how efficiently have I been able to control my OpEx as a percentage of my origination, revenue. So if I control that, and the trend is decreasing for me, I may be spending more, but actually, it's more efficient. The cloud has turned out more efficient for me. In some cases, though, in premise, you can bring in a lot of your software and, hyper virtualize internally and, kind of do all those kind of services and manage the cost just on the license perspective. As you know, we are in the business, we are in the fintech financial technology business. So there's a lot of regulatory compliance that we have to abide with. There's a lot of PII issues. There's a lot of bank grade security that we have to deal with. So in order to fulfill all of those obligations, we have to ring fence and bring in a lot of solutions to protect our customers' data. Now, what is happening with the cloud today, and there are initiatives and efforts by all cloud providers without naming them, to bring in that element. But currently, I don't have a cloud provider giving me like a banking grade enabled cloud with everything built in a box. What I have to do is I have to spend that all of that. I have to bring one solution. I have to bring one solution. I have to worry about the data cost of now taking this solution, data from this solution into that, then intermediary data holding cost and all of that. So eventually, what happens is that the, the cloud provider is helping by making those services enabled for you, but I am having to deal with all the hard work and the grunt work of designing the solution and taking care of my cost and everything. So I would expect that there, going forward, if we have to increase the adoption of the cloud, we have to make it simple for the customer. There are pay-as-you-go models and everything, and that's perfect because they have been simplified to an extent. But the next level of evolution will have to be a simple usage-based model where perhaps I can just pay one price for running all my IT, and that price includes whatever my industry required. If I'm in the banking and financial industry and I'm a financial technology company, provide me a cloud service which will have guard duty built in, which will have some kind of encryption built in, which will have some kind of regulatory 11-year data hosting, which will have everything built in, and whatever I need in order to be successful, so that we can focus on running and building more use cases. So our experience on the cost part has been, yes, it is cost efficient. You have to make it cost efficient. It's not going to be cost efficient by itself out of the box. You have to design your system. You have to use the cloud judiciously. You have to be aware of what cost you're going to take, and how you will enable and grow your business using the power of the cloud. One of the things that Malika mentioned tremendously helped us as we were growing our business. We have operational processes, underwriters, verifiers who have to deal with the loan applications coming in. So as we were dealing with 100x the load that we were handling in a month, we were handling in a day, we have to scale up our operational teams also. And working from home, it's not easy to get those many people onboarded and those many laptops and everything created. So having cloud workspaces allowed us to onboard people and have that secure environment where we were not worried that people who are now logging in from any kind of unprotected device which we have not secured to our specifications will lead to some kind of data loss or a risk of data leakage, etc.
Sure.
So I think if planned out judiciously, cloud brings a lot of cloud efficiency, but you need to watch out for spiraling cost of too many solutions, and then it can go out of whack.
Sure. So Girish, do you echo Vineet's sentiments there? I mean, cost definitely, but it is definitely an important consideration, especially during these times of pandemic when IT budgets and everything is under a lot of pressure. So how do you look at controlling costs in a multi-cloud environment?
I think that's a very valid sentiment what Mr. Vineet actually echoed here. I want to tell you from one of my experience. We host a VMware-based SAP, the biggest SAP cloud based on VMware platform in India. We were talking to one of the customers, and rather than coming with us, he decided to go for a hyperscaler. But later on, only 3 months down the line, we migrated them back to our SAP HANA cloud, right? The reason was the predictions of cost went uncontrolled, because when you are projecting your development work scenarios to work for 4 to 6 hours, and suddenly you realize that there you are going uncontrolled and you are doing your development for 14 hours, you're running out of your costs. And in other terms, I might say you're bleeding more than what you did budget for, right? So it's very important to have be very rightly evaluating and being very apt to the cloud governance, right? So when people like us, we have multiple cloud grid based on an enterprise platform like VMware. I mention it again and again. The reason is We as a cloud service providers, we are very flexible. We are operating in a multi-cloud environment, right from hyperscalers services to the enterprise customers private cloud. Or it might be as simple as enterprise VMware private cloud, which is running. We can actually make them transfer to a VMC on AWS. You see so many technologies in a multi-cloud environment which are available to you, right? I think, let me correct, VMC is VMware Cloud on AWS, right? So many such solutions which help you move in a flexible way in a multi-cloud environment, but cloud governance has to be there, right? How does cloud governance help you? And I can give you some examples that even cloud providers like us, for each and every instance resource which customers are consuming, we give a visibility and governance to customers so that he can track his utilization for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, he can average it out, he can predict his future requirements, right? That is the benefit that we bring, that you can optimize. But here the idea is governance means that you are reviewing it, you're optimizing it, and at the same time you are predicting, you are trying to remove the uncertainty while you are ready for it, right? So that is the idea, that you want to look through uncertainty as much as possible, right? While you are ready with the cloud for an uncertain business condition to respond to it. At the same time, whatever you can govern, monitor, and leverage from the platform and cloud service providers capabilities, that's what, if it is not done rightly, we have seen many customers doing journeys and migrating back from hyperscalers. So it's very important that we set clear objectives, what we want to achieve. Like in terms of scalability, we heard a very good use case, right? So that might be an apt use case, while for the legacy applications, a private cloud might be the right use case, right? So the core idea for multi-cloud players like us is provide the right kind of governance to meet customers' objectives, right from a basic private cloud to a controlled and well-governed hyperscale journey.
Great, Girish, great inputs there. We still haven't heard from Vijay and Mr. Srinivas. So I'll come to Mr. Srinivas now. Sir, in many cases, multi-cloud environments are replacing proven, cohesive legacy IT infrastructures that have been in place for years. So while it may solve many problems associated with traditional on-prem infrastructure, visibility and management, they remain a challenge in such multi-cloud environments. How does a technology leader stay on top of these parameters?
So if I look at cloud is a transformation engine primarily. So now what's happening is that it's always the best of the breed, and adopting the best practices, be it OEMs or in industry best practices. Everybody wanted to have a desire to embrace standards, simplify, probably invest on the user experience management and all that. So the underlying layer that's very important is from a platform perspective. And one of the panelists was talking about evolution of industry-specific clouds. So some of the OEMs like SAP, etc., they are coming out with different clouds for different industries, and so that's one in the evolution stage. Okay. Second, coming to what has helped, especially the businesses, is that the application developers have looked at business impact and business pain, and they brought a lot of solutions that are pretty standard, that can be plug and play, that have been built on the native cloud platforms. It has got a native integration. I can take certain examples. Somebody talked about performance management. There is already a proven SAP solution, success factors kind of a thing. We can look at certain solutions which are very, very important, and a lot of organizations were waiting to be built, design, develop, and deploy. Whereas now you have a financial planning solution or a human resource planning solution, financial consolidation solution, a global accounting reporting solution, or even a tax solution. They're all built leveraging the standard cloud platform, and they are giving the advantages that were otherwise not available, because you have to have infrastructure, you have to design and develop and deploy, and ultimately you don't know whether that will be a right fit or not. At least now you have this demonstration and you can embrace that. So I feel it's a positive impact. And this has transformed it has taken the transformation journey by leaps and bounds.
Vijay, so to make the transition to hybrid multi-cloud successful and to ensure workflows are not disrupted, companies must make the various cloud services fit together as if in a puzzle. What's the best approach for ensuring a seamless infrastructure?
Absolutely, I think good question, and I think there is a saying in the past: when it rains, it pours, right? So cloud is for transformation. When it clouds, it transforms. So you have to really believe in the transformation journey. Primarily with the multi-cloud hybrid approach today, with the number of choices of vendors and technologies available, there is a new service called SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. Right, this is a kind of a package of all the various services: security as a service, network security as a service, cloud application security as a service. All this packaged together as something called SASE. And especially with edge computing taking on, because edge computing is now, so you have the public private cloud and you have the edge computing layer, are also called fog computing layer, coming up now, which is actually getting the processing of the information much closer to the request origination, right? So with that new direction the industry is heading, the SASE is going to fit, SASE architecture is going to fit right in, which will help you not only streamline your access, not only streamline your security, but also helps you with network segmentation, right? And the beauty of this SASE architecture is it's global, right? You can be a client anywhere in the world and you can be a server anywhere in the world. And based on the zero trust that you define that this particular users have access to only this particular service, SASE has the capability to basically apply the specific rules so that the user is actually going through and doing what's supposed to do and what he's supposed to know. So SASE is the best way. There's a lot of other tools, cloud management tools like Kubernetes is here, and that is actually taking off big time to help us manage multi-cloud environments. But I think at the end of the day, with the modular programming or micro modular programming, edge computing coming closer and closer to us, I think the SASE-based open model where any API can talk to any API, any service can talk to any service through this SASE interface, I think will make cloud computing and migrating cloud a lot in the future, from an IoT device to your smartwatch to all the way to your laptop or a server will be talking to cloud. So cloud is going to be the reality, and all these devices has to talk to the right source. The CIA triad has to be maintained at every state of the data. So I would say SASE is the way to go to help us achieve this.
So Vijay, like you said, all devices, everything has to talk to each other going forward. Malika, the ideal state for a technology leader is to integrate with and operate multiple diverse technology solutions, standards, and services tiers from a single glass of pane. How can he achieve this?
So the easy answer for that is that's a question for Girish. And
I'll come to Girish after you.
And he can definitely tell you what NetMagic can do for you there. But I think the combination of technologies that exist, and more importantly, the services around those technologies to make it available, usable. It's not just about, okay, here's a product, please take it, but how can that be made to fit your need correctly, right? And that is the important piece. And that is where I think having the right partner or set of partnerships becomes very, very important. Not just on the technology side, but on the side of on the services side of the house as well. You need a partner who understands, who is able to offer you the cloud, the access to the technology, is able to work with your applications, move them where you need them to be, and also give you that visibility. And I think, when we were talking about costs also a little earlier, give you a view to what is your consumption, what are you doing with the platforms that you're consuming today. We as a company are moving more and more into a SaaS and subscription mode, and but that isn't always the case everywhere. So you will have in some cases disparate systems that are working together. So even if it is not out of the box, you still need somebody who's able to give you that kind of a view. And I don't think there's any one answer to it to say that, right, this is the technology you plug in and, with a snap of a finger, you have that single pane of glass. But then when you work with the right partner, and you can, again, I'm referring here to Girish, is that they have the panels, and that's the work that NetMagic have done, is to create that dashboard views into where and what is happening with your cloud and how you're utilizing it, and the wheres of it. So, not sure if that's a complete answer to what you're looking for, but I think it's about making sure you have the right technology, the right partnerships to put that together for what you need.
Sure. Maybe Girish would have the complete answer. Girish, we hear a lot about having a single pane of glass. Does such a thing actually exist, or most CSPs just, provide this as a lip service?
No, actually, this is true that I agree that many of the time technologies do take time to come to their full potential. They go through a lot of development to reach, and at the same time, they are adjusting themselves to the changing requirements from our enterprises. But we have come a long way. I can give you a simple example that you can see all your hyperscale cloud workloads, including our VMware enterprise workloads, in a single pane of glass. You can monitor, and as we were talking about that in the new multi-cloud world, governance and monitoring has become very important to control your costs and at the same time not miss on your objectives. So that's where single pane of glass is really a reality there. And as I said, people like us, the managed service providers, play a role that whatever there is in the framework. When we talk about multi-cloud, how do we bring it on the ground? So right from as Malika rightly mentioned, that right from including migration to any technologies of your choice, I are to provide managed services, because sometimes the technology is very new for the enterprises right out there, or you want to have a very wonderful VMware private cloud, but you don't have the resources to manage it, right? So their managed services comes into play. So not only bringing technologies, but be it migration or be it managed services or be it providing a secured environment across your multi-cloud environment, all this has become a reality that you should be able to manage, govern, and run it in line with your objectives from a single pane of glass, and that's very much possible. And that's what that is the problem for which people look up to us, and we are happily bring the platform capabilities. It means I would like to highlight that many times platform people like Malika is here, can take name of VMware. They bring in many capabilities which you might not be able to leverage if you are not trained or technically enabled on them. So that's what the role managed services also play. The technology providers who are well trained, like we have been running VMware practice for more than 13 years. So we can really people help leverage each and every of their investment in a technology platform in the form of managed services, and help achieve the technology benefits which they aspired for.
Yeah, I just wanted to add there one. I think the single pane from the data perspective exists, okay. But for any business, when we go to a multi-cloud environment, that business only we know. The providers or managed service providers don't know that piece. And the business also is changing. That's dynamic. And a single decision made by board can change a lot of things. I mean, that can change my cloud cost to either side, big deal. And then whatever I planned goes haywire. So I think large enterprises and even decent size, I would say, smaller one probably can't afford, they have to have someone at their end also who keeps looking at this governance. We are a services company. We run a service for our customers who are mostly technology companies, that where we keep looking at every quarter their spend and we analyze the patterns and we suggest how you change and optimize. Now for enterprises, it's extremely important. Without that, you cannot be sure about the cost and efficiency also.
Great inputs there. So panelists, we've had a great discussion till now, but we are unfortunately coming to the end of this session. So one final question to all of you. I'll request all of you to be very precise and concise in your responses. I believe that no discussion around cloud is complete unless we talk about security. So the last question is around cybersecurity in the cloud. Start with Mr. Pradeep Kumar. I think, sir, you anyways have a take on one of the pointers, right?
So yeah. So if I just digress for a quick second, I think
ahead,
one of the key issue that I think when we talk about business and dollars and cents that gets overlooked is for a burgeoning or emerging economy like India, where there is tremendous innovation potential, there is tremendous talent. What public cloud has done, what SaaS has done, is to really allow frugal innovation. where the significant amount of investment actually goes into the talent and the ideation rather than the infrastructure cost. And I think this has been a big differentiator. And the value that we'll see would be, 5 years down the road when these innovators actually produce something out of leveraging the lower costs, where they don't have to worry about the real estate, they don't have to worry about, the infrastructure cost that requires an IT. If you look at, the whole electronics and the software segment, I think SaaS and the public clouds are a big, they're going to be the big enablers for our ecosystem. And I think I just wanted to add that point. On the security, I'll keep it brief. I know I took my time already, but on the security side, from the very beginning, when the term got coined about the public cloud and the private cloud, I've been pushing, although without any luck, about reframing these terms as the private secure cloud and the shared secure cloud. So it takes this perception away that the public being something that is lesser secure versus private cloud being higher secure. I think the security element, whether it's a public network or a private network, it's really an implementer's choice, or the qualifying parameters. They do have a control in the either model as well as in the hybrid model. So security is definitely, there is a certain element of regulatory compliances that defines more of a security aspects. But apart from that, I don't, at least in our client base or customer base, I don't see one model being better than the other. It's really, it's in whose hands it is. What's the caliber of the individual or the organization that is leveraging its usage. But for the small innovators, public cloud is a boon. It's a big blessing for an ecosystem like ours in India. Universities is another big upcoming user group that is going to be jumping on this option that's being available. Thank you.
Okay. Tejvi sir, client organizations are responsible for securing applications or databases that they put on top of the cloud platform. How should they understand the context of security vis-a-vis cloud?
I think, again, I'll go back to the business imperatives as to, what is so critical for the business. For example, as we are content creators, how secure is our content? If it is available on the public cloud, how secure it is? Are we also taking into consideration the IT Security Act compliances? That's also very important. With the new regulations coming in, a player like us, we have to look at not only GDPR, but also the local compliances. So those are some of the aspects that I would really, want to understand before even I put my investments or put my money in either a public or some other cloud. So that's all I can say as of now.
Sure. Great. Mr. Srinivas, your thoughts on security in cloud?
So there are application specific, there are organization specific, cloud infrastructure provider specific. So basically, we may have to look at all of that in the right earnest and ensure that there is a cross-domain identity management, and there are identity and access management solutions that need to be leveraged apart from the physical security processes that we need to adhere to.
Okay, wonderful. Vijay, you spoke about SASE.
Yeah.
Any other model, SASE Zero Trust, comes to your mind?
It's all about understanding your risk appetite, number one. Okay, what's your risk appetite as an organization? Understanding the governance and compliance requirements of your company globally and regionally, so that you know the data residency rules, retention rules of the country. And more importantly, I think, they're continuously stay apprised with the new technologies, because there are tons of new technologies coming, helping us, enable, especially the edge computing, that we talked about, SASE technologies, talked about. It's really going to take off. So if we start adapting them quickly, I'm sure, the cloud will be as flexible as in-house hosting, if not much safer in a way. So with that, yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Vineet, how do you keep your crown jewels safe in the cloud?
I think, cloud computing and cloud providers have matured, so at a base and foundation level, the security of the infrastructure is, I believe, in my opinion, is, much better than what you can provide in your own, data clusters or your data centers. You'll have to invest a lot in getting to that level of security. I think the next level of security is where, the applications and the data that we are keeping, which is our business's data, And there is a lot of governance and application security that needs to be built up. I think cloud providers have a role to play by providing the right tools, and they provide a very good set of technology support that's there. I still see the weakest link today is the uh, sometimes your development teams or the end user, so to say, within the chain. That sometimes you miss out something and that causes some security breach or something to happen. So having a good governance structure and a good monitoring infrastructure that can help predict certain security incidents from happening before they happen is the key here. And building such infrastructure or such kind of processes does take a little bit of expertise and experience in building. So that experience and expertise, I think, is the key from end user perspective. From my organization, that we are running every bit of our infrastructure and trusting it on the cloud. So for us, we are heavily investing. We have realized that if we have to make this successful, there has to be an investment in cloud security. So, we have a information security team. We have a chief information security officer and a team associated with them that is devoted on these practices continually.
Great. Sumit sir, you deal with a lot of reader subscriber data. So your take on this?
Well, see, I think both security models are a little bit different. While when you offer and start using public cloud, you don't have to worry about physical security. You don't have to worry too much about compliances because a lot of these compliances, these ISO 27001, PCI, FedRAMP, all comes built in pre-packaged for you. So you don't have to do anything about it. The only thing which you have to do is to make sure that you take your share of what you're supposed to do in that security model. So often the mistake which we have seen is the people who manage the on-prem infrastructure, how they manage their infrastructure security, they're trying to enforce the same rules on the cloud security model, which typically doesn't work. They have a separate responsibility model in which you are responsible for part of what you're supposed to do, and they're responsible for their bit in that overall piece of cybersecurity. I think it's important for us to be educated about it. It's about us to focus our efforts in area where we need to contribute and secure ourselves. And there are various tools which are available in actually to ensure that we have visibility into the traffic which is going into our traffic in both private and public cloud. It's also have whether we are adhering to the best practices of both the worlds. But I think it's about having those skills and making sure that you actually have capabilities to differentiate between the two models and make sure that you actually can leverage best of both worlds.
Sure. Great. Manjunath, your thoughts here?
Well, all the cloud things adoptions are coming with the basic securities. Today, all the packages built with that. But now, as rightly said by the panelists, based on the risk appetite, we have to deploy additional tools as per our business requirement, as per our risk appetite, because security is a ocean by itself. Because we have multiple areas now. Every day we try to fix up one area, we see another new area prolonging out as a gap. So it's a never-ending thing. So based on our risk appetite, we have to take steps into that, which is what we are trying to follow that.
Okay. Mr. Jagatpal?
Yeah, I just say what Vineet said. I think, the security, we should not look at something as a service which cloud providers are providing. I mean, of course, they'll do it for infra. But if you take your own application and deploy in private cloud or in-house, in-premise, you have to take care of it. And the same thing you should try to do there also, unless you are using a complete platform also of a cloud provider. But that's something which is very difficult because today you may not want to commit to one provider. It's a multi-provider environment. So I think security is something, for me, it's given. I mean, a cloud provider will provide you enough physical, enough, the network security and things like that. But from application perspective, we cannot reduce our investment and our efforts. We have to continue making that till clouds become domain aware. And that's going to take probably a lot more time what we may think.
Great. Malika, final thoughts from you.
I think just listening to what everybody is saying, and they've already said most of whatever is relevant. And when I'm looking at it as a platform provider, right? It and again, a lot of people don't know that we are a networking and security company as well. That one of the things is, so long as my customers and through my partners are able to get a consistent operational infrastructure across whatever disparate environments that they're using, that they're able to achieve zero trust security as a service, that they're able to secure at the edge, you're able to work with we've got technologies that let you work with concepts around micro segmentation that allows you to do firewalling on the cloud. There are a lot of things that we can do with technology, but then again, it has to be applied in the right way and around the right requirements that you have. So we can bring the technology to the table. And this again holds good for the comment that I had made earlier to your previous question, is that you also need to have, and again, Mr. Jagatpal had raised this point. It is also about what the customer also decides to drive as policy, as governance, and taking into account your risk appetite and who implements this and puts this in place for you.
Sure.
So bring it all together.
Great. Thanks a ton, Malika. Girish, final comments from your side?
So Yashwendra, I think we all embrace that now we are moving towards the multi-cloud, and we really heard very good views about how our startup community is actually being fueled by the cloud innovation. So that's a very welcome stage. At the same time, security, whenever I talk to my security team, they come out with beautiful statements that we are working on something which is unknown, because what is known, we already have a plan to mitigate that, right? So they're also always working on unknown. I heard some panelists, but let me put my view. Sorry, I beg to differ. Security is everybody's responsibility, right? Be it the network person, be it the cloud person, be it the platform person. Even if you hear the technology discussions now, inherent platform security capabilities are coming up with every platform, right? When I go and have my conversations with VMware, I will ask them many questions about how platform is secured internally. So security has to be every layer. Cloud providers like us have got a bigger challenge. I have a 24/7 security operations center because I'm operating in a multi-cloud environment. People want to experiment with many new things. I can give you a simple example that they want to have databases in their data center and their application workload, which are communicating with database in some of the hyperscalers. So again, I have to ensure that even in this hybrid environment, I'm keeping the same security layer or compliance, which I would have enjoyed in a single on the same premises. So we are catering to all these needs with a 24/7 security operations center. Even like what we have done is we have emerged with new, because it has to be an unknown area, and that's why people need services and the professional expertise from. You can see that IT fraternities have, as we rightly heard, we have a different security organization within our IT organizations, right? That has taken a different play. Same way, we have a team which is always ready to respond to the security incidents 24/7. They publish their monthly threat intelligence reports on each and every technology platform that we are using. We patch and mitigate. So it's like, if someone comes and tells me that security is given, I tell them, yes, it is given with a lot of efforts every month. So we continue on that because that has become, I think I totally take the point. It is given means we are putting a lot of consciousness, and I should say conscious efforts towards maintaining security, right from platform to delivering managed services or even involving people in any of the interactions. Having said it, even at the application layer, there are many levels, right? For infrastructure and platform, people are ensuring security in their respective areas, but applications are again being accessed by a variety of people. So how do you ensure security at each and every layer in a diverse set of multi-cloud environment becomes a new player needing a special expertise, should not be ignored. At the same time, for startups out there, it's a very pleasant thing, because now you have people like managed services people who are readily providing you defined levels of security within the compliances they follow. Very simple. It might be PCI DSS or CSS star. They follow many basic compliances. So a lot of security comes along with it. At the same time, you get many services providers like us who are ready to take you even to the next level or to the level of your convenience in terms of security.
Thank you so much, Girish. Thanks a ton, panelists. That's all we have time for. To sum up the discussion, when done right, cloud offers transformative opportunities for organizations. However, to be done right, organizations need to approach the cloud with clarity of vision and expectations, knowledge of options, understanding of business drivers, proper planning, disciplined execution, and ongoing deliberate governance and management. With this, we bring this session to a close. Thanks a lot, panelists, for sparing your time and valuable insights with all of us. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you so much.